What's the most disturbing text message you got? Are you a friend of username? Yeah, why? He passed away. This message came from the account of that friend, so I thought I was getting pranked. It still feels so unreal, losing a friend you met online. I only met him in person once, but I drove 10 hours out to the service anyways. I'd known him online for 5 years. He was only a few years over 20. I'll miss that man. My best friends are online. They are more family than most of my actual family. Just because you met once doesn't make that friendship any less important. I'm sorry for your loss. You shouldn't have refused me. I'll force you to kiss me the next time. I didn't recognize the number and have no clue who it came from. Honestly, a girl probably gave him your number and hopefully dodged a bullet. I did suck him off, so I may have gotten herpes. Sent to me by my dad, followed by that wasn't meant for you. A second not disturbing but devastating was grandma just went into hospice. If you want to say goodbye you need to fly out tomorrow. Got that text on a Tuesday, flew out Wednesday. Grandma died on Friday morning. Probably when my abusive ex contacted me years after me cutting him off, acting all friendly and asking if I'd like to get coffee and talk sometime. He was very emotionally abusive, manipulative, and a gun nut, so no thank you. I told him in no uncertain terms to lose my number, then blocked him. Emergency alert. Ballistic missile threat in Bointa, Hawaii. Seek immediate shelter. This is not a drill. Would have got to be the worst one, surely. LOL. Husband and I got that text while on our holiday in Honolulu. We slept through it and woke up to our family freaking out. I'm glad nothing happened though. One night just as I was drifting off to sleep, my phone buzzed with the message, "We're watching," from an unknown number. I just replied, "Prepare for boredom." Perfect response. If you're not home in 20 minutes I'll gut your cats and hang them from the ceiling. From my husband. While I was in the hospital, I got a message in the middle of the night from an unknown number telling me to stop sleeping with their husband, albeit in somewhat stronger language. I'm pretty certain it wasn't meant for me as I wasn't sleeping with anyone's husband. I replied saying I didn't think the message was meant for me and never heard anything more. Text back, "I'm not a cat." My mom was in the ICU back in the fall. Due to COVID restrictions I wasn't able to go visit her. I got this text in the middle of the night. "Find me please. Moved me to ICU sec flipper. I bed. I have o call button. Can't adjust bed. No contact w human. Please. Please." I know she was confused from medications, and ICU delirium is a thing. But I can't shake the fear that was behind this message. And it's the last one I have from her as we ended up needing to remove life support a couple of days later. Even with all the confusion you were the first person she thought of. I have had two. One was from my mother and it said, "Come straight home after school." I called her. My grandma had died. The second one was from my then boyfriend and it said, "I love you. He had killed himself." Grandma in heaven. Very sad. Grandma did not die. He was referring to her enjoying herself at the family cabin while feeling some stuff. Ex-boyfriend, 23 at the time, saw me walking around with my then boyfriend, holding hands, so it was obviously not just some acquaintance. Came to us to say hi, was casually friendly, just a regular encounter. Later that evening he sent me a text message saying he was shocked I had a new boyfriend, and if he did anything to hurt himself, it was my fault. I saw him a few years later in a shop, so he seemingly didn't do anything though. He wasn't going to hurt himself. He just wanted to have some semblance of power over you. He probably got off on the thought of you freaking out and then forgot all about it. I'm sorry your ex is such a dong. I know you're there, Jen. Stop deleting my texts. For a while I had been getting spam texts from different numbers, just the usual stuff like fake raffles or links, but they all called me Jen. I just deleted the messages and moved on, but this one made my blood run cold. My name's not Jen. I get the same stuff. My name isn't Scott. Not a text message but in my photo gallery. Found a dong pic that had no idea where it came from. Did not recognize it nor the bathroom that it was taken in. It was terrifying to think someone got into my phone and put it in there. That happened over 10 years ago and I still don't know how it got there. A few years ago I asked a girl out and got refused. Later on that day, I got a message from a guy who was going to same school with me saying, "I heard that you like my girlfriend," with a lot of swear words. Fun fact, they were not dating. He was a really childish butthole back then. Bullet dodged successfully. A few years back I got a series of texts from a random Alberta number. It said something along the lines of "we'll send these to your family," and then a bunch of photos of some person who looked absolutely defeated in a shower covered in fesses. Then the same person performing oral sex on a cow. It was super disturbing and I went to my local police right away. They took the images and messages from my phone and took a statement, but I never really heard of what happened after that. Oh my. A text from my best friend saying I think I killed him. We had been at the bar for a few hours beforehand and I'd just gotten into bed when I got the text. I tried calling but he never answered. I ended up driving to his house and he was asleep in bed. He swore that he never sent the text and it didn't show up on his phone either. Likely story. He just covered his tracks really well. When my son was around 8 months old, my husband, SAHD, used to take him for walks in his baby carrier around our neighborhood park. One day he texted me, "Guess what I found floating in the pond?" I guessed a turtle. I was wrong. It was a dead body. Holy crap, when I read this I thought you meant the body was your son's. I was really confused, but I'm glad it wasn't. I want my biological baby. It's my dream. Can you donate your sperms in future if I choose you? Of course I don't mean to have sex and all. And I will be enclosed secret. No, we were not dating. That's quite the compliment though. It was me who accidentally sent the creepy message. A friend asked me to send him a screenshot of an article we were talking about, but I only realized a few days later that I typed his number incorrectly. So some poor stranger got a screenshot of a news article titled, "Translated from another language. How two depressed people apparently decided to become serial killers," with the article preview reading, "Because they became a couple. Two patients had to leave the psych hospital. While watching horror movies they apparently decided to become serial killers and murdered a woman." I would have been horrified to receive that from an unknown number without any context. This is hilarious. My mom texted Dad had a heart attack, and then her and no one else in the family would answer their phones. I live across the country. I was flipping out, crying and repeatedly trying to get a hold of someone. Not until half an hour later was I told it was actually my grandpa who had heart problems. It was a minor attack, and he was fine. I went off on my mom and told her never to text something like that again. She got mad at me. Throughout my life she's texted disturbing crap like that to everyone ever. Deaths and health problems and accidents etc are never something to text about. Freaking heck. At that point just text her your son/daughter has died and refuse to respond for a while. Then tell them you were talking about a video game or some nonsense like that. See how she likes it. My phone was on Do Not Disturb. Woke up to read a bunch of messages from an ex that would have set off alarms had I read them. It was followed by a text from her mom about how she had to take her daughter to the ER cause she tried to kill herself. Reading through it all, hours after it happened, was terrifying. Even though she was nearly 700 miles away, I still could have contacted someone who could have helped. To be frank, contacting you of all people wasn't going to be very effective anyway, so don't blame yourself for this. A friend of mine was going through a hard time and sent me like 4 paragraphs of crap about how hard it was to go through. I was dead tired though, so just before bed I texted her, "I'm so sorry, you're dear to me, Shiloh. Good night." I woke up to a tirade of angry texts, so I went back and read the text I sent. "I'm so sorry, you're dead to me, Shiloh. Good night." Freaking autocorrect. I can't stop laughing at this. A couple weeks ago I was getting texts from a man who claimed to know who I was, and he was demanding very explicit photos of me. I ended up blocking his number, but it still bugs me that I don't know who he was. I received an image of a smiling guy sitting naked on a 5-gallon bucket with a banjo strategically placed between his legs. This was randomly sent to me from an unknown number. He was trying to send it to his sister. This was actually a voicemail message, not a text message. from my mother. She said there's blood everywhere and then got cut off immediately. Calling back, it turned out she phoned me while watching CSI and a particularly gory scene caused her to exclaim that and drop the phone. She definitely butt dialed you while she was murdering someone. I got into a big argument with my father in person. I walked away from it in the middle of one of his rants. He proceeded to blow up my phone with text messages, which I ignored for a week. When I finally did read them and start responding, it quickly devolved into him detailing all the ways he felt my brother was responsible for our parents' divorce. He called my mom an idiot, too. I ended up blocking his number. That was in April of last year, and I haven't spoken to him since. Good riddance to bad rubbish. DNA is nothing but a lottery. Choose the family that puts the work and loyalty in. Accidentally sent a text to my aunt that said my dong still hurts from last night lol. It was meant for my girlfriend at the time. We just had a fun night together. My aunt responded, I don't even want to know. I walked out of a funeral of one of my clients who'd hung himself a number of weeks earlier. Turned my work phone onto a message of I've had enough. I'm going to kill myself today off another client. That led to a 3-hour manhunt where the police and I searched a number of different places for him, and eventually found him wandering the street. He's locked himself out of his flat and been without his medication for 3 days. I've dealt with a lot of death, and I'm fairly immune to suicide threats, but it hit me hard that day, leaving one funeral to nearly having another death. I got a text once that said, I'm coming to get you now. It was almost 1 AM. I was at home. Had no plans, and so it was obviously a wrong number. I replied, wrong number. They then replied, look, my first name, quit playing around. I'll be there soon. Be ready. Now, I have an extremely common name, but at 1 AM I wasn't making that connection and spent the rest of the night horrified about the person that was coming to get me. LOL. I'm pregnant was up there. It was disturbing mostly because I knew she was lying. Still made for an interesting couple of days. Full story please. My boss drunk texted that he loved me at 3 AM on a Sunday. Someone texted me asking for a dirt bike, but the thing is, I use iMessage and no one has my email. They then proceeded to show stalking behavior. Creepy. I'm stuck between two. 1. I was home alone during high school when I had a cheap flip phone. I was about 14. Text from a number I didn't know saying I want to watch you undress. I never found out who sent it, as I didn't reply, just hid till someone got home. 2. Right after Hurricane Ike, I got a message from my best friend I wish they could get the tree off with no context. I assumed she had been crushed by a tree and was crying for hours, trying to get a text through. It was insanely difficult. It turned out that she was fine. Just frustrated they couldn't get out the back door because a tree had fallen and was blocking it. Happened recently and is the only text I've ever gotten to date that has made me vomit outright within minutes of reading. It was one super text explaining the following. To preface, last year, my girlfriend was filled with booze by one of her exes and raped. This ex is a childhood friend of a good friend. Some handful of weeks back she went with said good friend out of the city to hang out with some other people and the ex turned up unannounced. Throughout the night he was trying to get her drunk again, was touching her, tried kissing her, picked her up over his shoulder, and even tried to peep on her while she went to pee in a bush. She fought but her friends did nothing for her. She called me a good number of times to keep me posted until the very last call in which she was crying heavily. She called me bawling her eyes out to go and pick her up. And I did. She ended up leaving early by extension and wouldn't let go of me when she got into the car and would not stop crying. Before leaving the house, I threw up, brushed my teeth quickly, and went to grab her. It was about an hour-long drive and I don't think I've ever driven more recklessly nor have I ever felt that sick to my stomach. To know that the woman you love is in another city, 1 hour away, essentially trapped with a guy who raped her is a feeling that I would not wish upon my worst enemy. She needs to set that friend group on fire. The message I was supposed to get, but did not. I was at a friend's house in high school and my mom was going to pick me up after work. I notice she's outside, get my stuff, and get in the car. She's a little irritated because she wants to get home and I took a minute to see her and get out there. She's like, I texted you, why did it take so long? I told her that I didn't get anything or I would have been ready already. She insists, pulls out her phone to show me the text. Be ready, I'll be there soon. Okay cool, but to the wrong number. Normal with context for me, the intended recipient. But I'm sorry to whoever got that message out of the blue and probably kept checking through the blinds or something the rest of the evening. Hope you got that lube like I told you to. I'm coming over and I don't want to force it in if it's dry. Mechanic texting the wrong number, not based on a true story. My ex-girlfriend who I had plans on how I was going to propose to texted to me to tell me she had met a new guy and was leaving me for him. After that text, I never saw her again, and just a week later she went completely no contact with me. Sounds like a phenomenally crappy girlfriend. Went to the beach with some friends. Then later I noticed 19 missed calls and a text from my cousin that read, sorry about your dad. I can, in a way, relate to this. Just a while back, I found out someone who I loved passed away. My mom was supposed to tell me, but when I saw my grandma and cousins come into my family's living room, teary-eyed and crying, I figured it out. Worst day of my life, and I'm not even that old yet. Honestly, some of the stuff my mum used to send me when she first got a mobile phone, the predictive text would wreak havoc on her messages, adding words like bomb, cancer and oxygen. At first I'd be worried and then realize it was just her trying to message me. I got one about 3 weeks ago from a longtime friend of mine. She's been having a rough time, told me I would never speak to her again, and thanked me for being her friend. I think she killed herself. She has contemplated it before, and brought it up a few days prior. I didn't see the message until a couple hours after it was sent. I don't have her current address or even city, just number. I don't have contact information for her family. Number is now disconnected. Emails don't get read. The disturbing part to me is not knowing, and not having any way of finding out if that's what happened. Not to mention, such a short message to tell me what's up and goodbye, from someone I've spoken to almost daily for a bit over 15 years. Dying. It was from my mom almost 6 years ago. My dad had been in and out of the hospital for a few months and he collapsed during PT. He literally was dying. Mom later apologized, but that was what she could do at the moment to let us know. I got a long message from a woman begging her boyfriend to take her back, accused him of beating her, but he was the only one who understood her and she still loved him. I told her she had the wrong number and she apologized and said she got one digit wrong in the phone number. I wished her well and that was it. Very disturbing to read, but it felt very suspicious, like some sort of scam. I was dating a girl who was obsessed with me, but not in a good way. She had bipolar disorder and a tendency toward extreme jealousy. When I was away from her on a job contract, she texted me saying I have stabbed myself through my hand cutting vegetables. Come and see me. It cost me a lot of money to do so. She told me she had done this out of fear that I would cheat on her. I reassured her that I never would. I would rather just break up than cheat on someone. The next week I had to go back to my contract work. The very next night she texted me saying in hospital, hit by a car crossing road, come and see me. She had walked in front of a car deliberately to get hurt so I would stay with her for longer. Soon after I broke up with her. I couldn't handle that sort of liability, or the guilt that comes with every injury. She tried to blame me for the breakup, but I didn't want to receive a final text saying she was doing something fatal. A girl I talked to in high school borrowed her dad's phone so we could talk for the day when her phone was broken. She did not tell me this. Problem is that her dad was pretty high up in the Navy, like former SEALs officer in a desk job high up. I text her later and he says, I don't know who you are, how you got this number, but in the interest of national security you will delete this from your phone immediately. I had met the man before, and he was so nice in person. Scared the crap out of me at 17. This is David, your son's roommate. He didn't come home last night. No one has seen him since yesterday. We've called everywhere. His wallet and cell phone are still on his desk. I think you need to call the police. I know you know this, but you're an awful person. from a partner who was trying to guilt trip me to leave work so I could watch him take citrus pills. This, a 45-year-old man, and he thought that would work. That ended the relationship. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.